we're back talking to interesting people. And boy, do we have an interesting person today. The most interesting person in the world, we might say. You know, the other guy is just a commercial. This guy's real.
Who is that guy?
I don't even know. You see, that's what I mean. But he's got a beard too. He's got gray hair, more gray. It's from some commercial, I don't know, some alcohol commercial. The most interesting person in the world. Yeah, that guy. So, but for the people at home, we're here at Harley in Green. And this is Hal Gottsacker, and we say it in German, you would say Gottsacker.
Correct.
That means God's field, God's acre, God's land.
Land.
Right? Yeah. So we're going to find out how everything gets started. Hell, I mean, come on, you've been in this business for a long time. Harley Davidson has been there since 1903, right? It started?
Yeah.
All the way back?
This is actually today they celebrated the 120th anniversary with the new models for this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
And we were looking around here and with Harleys, you know, and I said my interest was always, once the Fat Boys came out, but the green ones over there, what are those?
The Pan American.
The Pan American.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that one. I might get my driver's license now here in America. I didn't want to do it because in Europe, when you're there, you're only allowed to pass on the left with the car. So if you're in the speeding lane, you go slow, you'll get a ticket from the cops. You need to go to the side because that's for passing. In America, when I found out the motorcycles can pass left and right, I go, with my crazy mind at the time when I was 28 when I came here, I was insane trying to do wheelies on the freeway. You know, it's just not a smart thing to do when somebody goes to the right.
Yeah,
It just
right.
goes me up.
You expected them to go
Not a
the
good
other way,
thing.
Yeah.
So how did you get in this business? Is this something that you started as a kid? Your dad was in it? Did he push you into motorcycles? How do you get started in this?
Well, I mean, first of all, I'm glad you're here. Thanks for coming. My story is really, I got to just say, first of all, I'm just lucky and grateful to God for how my life has gone, you know, and so I'm not really, when you say business, I never really thought of it as a business. In as much as I didn't have that as a goal, you know. I just like being around motors, and I mean, when I was a kid, like I couldn't wait to, you know, get my hands on a lawnmower, or, you know, anything that had a motor in it, and pretty much my life progressed that way. I actually, I know I'm not alone in this, but I didn't really go to school much. In that I had a bicycle, and I lived in a beautiful town in Wisconsin that had sidewalks and alleys and good people everywhere. And my parents, there was 10 kids in our family, so they didn't know where we were anyway. You know, everybody would scatter after breakfast.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what. So you know, back in the 50s, in my memory, I was born in '53, so. Cars were pretty much kind of a new I mean, cars that really performed and had styling and beauty. And so like, I would ride my bike and hang out at Marv's Texaco station and hang out with those guys, you know. And,
but it was cars. It was the motorcycles.
Cars, right? But I'm on a bicycle. You know?
Okay.
And then my mother had a trick for our kids I'm not sure, early December is St. Nicholas Eve. Mm-hmm. And she would put stockings, stockings up at the fireplace and write a note from like Santa Claus and St. Nick.
Yep.
And when I was probably 4 or 5, I got a piece of coal in my stocking.
Oh.
Devastated me. My sister's got like an orange and some candy, and I got a letter from Santa and St. Nick that if I don't shave up, there's nothing going to happen at Christmas, and I had to do this, and this, and I just thought of it this morning because I knew I was be talking to you, and it made a big difference in my life because I changed my act, I guess.
Oh wow!
Because at Christmas when they raised the curtain, there's a little mini bike in there with a lawnmower motor.
Okay.
But kind of a factory-made deal. And my dad wasn't into bikes or motors or anything. He was an athlete and whatnot. But man, that just changed my life. I mean, I still have a scar. I knocked my eye out with that thing, and eventually, I'd just ride alleys, and I found a motorcycle shop with like real hoodlums back, like way out of my neighborhood, and there weren't cell phones. Nobody knew where it was. And
Yeah.
I needed a throttle cable, and I heard about these guys, and they rode down there, and and I just saw they were riding Harleys,
Uh-oh.
I mean, it's just the sound, and like the stories I heard, and that's pretty much what got me going. It did make a problem, and my friends' parents didn't like them hanging out with me because I was, kind of a little more adventurous than they wanted their kids. So I went back to bicycles, and that mini bike ended up in northern Wisconsin at my uncle's place. So if I ever wanted to see it again, I had to go 300 miles. So went back to bicycles, and I just loved riding around.
And what was the gas price at the time? Just wondering.
I think it was about 12 or 13 cents.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
That's a big difference.
Because when I was 16, I remember 35 cents was a lot.
Yeah.
People went, wow, man, 35 cents for a gallon of gas, you're crazy.
And going back to St. Nicholas, because in Holland that's big, and in Germany it's big, St. Nicholas, right? He comes from Spain, and he gets all these workers with him, and But and they're going to put you in the back, right? If you're bad, and then they bring you back to Spain. So that was the fear that they put into you.
Yeah, well, there were spy elves that like my older sister. Did you see that? What?
Yeah. My dad would play piano. And he would act like Santa Claus. That's what they say in Holland, Santa Claus, St. Nicholas. And he would be playing, and while he was playing, but he would grab his hand, and he would keep playing with one hand, and he threw in like candy while he was playing. So we go, oh, he's there. But we never knew that was him. But then, of course, when we get older,
tricks.
Yeah. The little tricks. And then when you walked outside, there was a knock on the door, and then you walk outside, there was a basket with all the presents, and And with you, it was the curtain that got lifted, and you got the motorcycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
And so that triggered you to go. So your second one, when you bought, that was right away a big one. I mean, you were hanging out with the Harleys because it's expensive at the time, right?
No, but I was just a little kid. I was like 5 years old.
Oh, that was a 5, like you were very young.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's and I don't know how my father and mother. I don't know how they did that or why they did, because it was like it had nothing. It may have. I don't know how it happened. They just. I either must have said it or something. Yeah. And I had 4 older sisters, and maybe that had a lot to do with me wanting to do something a little different than like what they were doing, and I don't know, but it worked.
So, but then so you go to school. What kind of kid? So you were already the same as me, I guess, right? A trouble kid. You got in trouble a lot at school. You couldn't sit still. It was always class.
I mean, to me, it wasn't trouble. It just, I didn't want to go, And I kind of like.
Just got in trouble for the school.
I went to Catholic grade school, and probably by 3rd grade I could read and write and do math, and that was it.
So where did you go?
So I started reading car magazines and hanging out, comic books, and the trouble was that that back then it was you didn't show up.
Yeah.
And I was out just riding my bike.
Yeah.
I'd go to all these cool places and meet people.
And so like as a kid, I was working at the farm, right, to make money, and I was restocking groceries, I was newspapers and all that stuff, and that was for you probably the same thing.
I worked at baled hay. I worked at Piggly Wiggly supermarket unloading trucks.
And I guess that was also to save up money for a motorcycle.
Yeah.
So what was your first motorcycle that you bought yourself?
It was I worked at a Chevy Cadillac dealership. I started out in a gas station that they had.
How old were you at that time?
Probably 16, 17.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was in Wisconsin, and their specialty was storing snow tires for this customer base they had, which, if you can imagine. So when it started to snow, my first, month at the job, these older people in Cadillacs and stuff would show up, and there was a barn with snow tires, and I figured out, well, that's not mine. And anyway, they're covered in slush, and you put them up on the thing, get coated with and put their snow tires on for them. And then they promoted me. They started a used car lot, bringing their junk down, and needs a muffler, and I didn't, I just. Okay. I started fixing junk, I don't know, I just got into it and pumped gas. And then I was promoted by the Chevy Cadillac shop to a used car, parts department. I worked there during the summer. Of course, it was 1,000,000 degrees up in the attic and do inventory with the spiders and stuff. But I learned from these guys the parts business. They got me down on the counter, learned cool stuff like the springs and weights in a 67 Corvette, 327, 375 horse would go right into a lesser motor.
Okay.
And it would make it run faster, more power. It's like $7 thing. So I put together packs of that, and everybody had a small block Chevy. Hey, you want to hop it up? $7.
Okay, yeah, $7 at the time.
Yeah.
That was a good deal.
Yeah.
So maybe some money.
Stuff like that. So then I ended up on the used car lot selling cars, and my first paycheck, one of the mechanics I knew from the main shop tells me he's in trouble with his girl, and he's got this 48 Harley Davidson
Ooh.
Panhead, and I traded him my first paycheck for this beat up mousetrap, kickstart, half the parts missing, but it ran 48 Panhead. And I figured out how to keep it running most of the time. I usually park on top of a hill because
so you could down to start it.
yeah. But I ran that, and I don't know. And I ended up somewhere in there. I worked at McDonald's, and I baled hay in the summer, 90-pound hay. Just cool stuff. And to me, it was all good. I was having fun. I can't really say it ever seemed like work. It was just me. It was just doing different stuff.
I did the same thing. And for me, it's the same with fighting. It was never a job. And commentating is never a job. And doing things like that. We've been so very blessed if you do something that you love.
Yeah, and it's just.
And then it becomes
like baling hay, you're outside, and
yeah. Getting stronger.
Riding around on a tractor, I couldn't, that was cool,
Yeah, and if you don't, you're spending money. So it's always better to work and making money, and then you can buy the stuff that you want to do. So you got into racing. What age did you get into racing already?
Okay, so the town I'm from, Sheboygan, Wisconsin, is about 12 miles from a place called Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, which is a beautiful resort area, and the local guys back in the 50s, they would run once a year a Grand Prix around the lake on the city streets. And much like Watkins Glen, New York, where they've had F1 races and they're still a viable, beautiful racetrack. And they had a similar deal. But anyway, but it was dangerous, and the cars were dangerous, and people would get injured and killed and whatnot. And the local business guys bought this about 600 acres of land that was deemed back then not good for farming because it's the terrain. It had a lot of woods and a lot of hills and stuff. And they designed a racetrack that's there today. It's one of the finest in the world. They just repaved it. It's 4-mile road course. And my parents took me there when I was young. And like they said that my dad in a necktie, and they had a picnic table with a thing, at a race. And pretty much to this day, I take my grandkids there. I just had them there, teach them how to ride mini bikes. It's my favorite place in the world for so many reasons. But the racing and the people and the attitude and just the experience of seeing beautiful colors and shapes, and if you're a little kid, and then hearing motors and walking behind a old Scarab with a Chevy V8 with straight pipes on it, and being a little kid, and you could walk, you walk these streets, the trails and whatnot, and just see all this stuff, and that.
Get inside.
It was in me, yeah.
And so what would you say? How did you start racing? Is it something first you did with your friends? You're racing in the forest.
Well, yeah. When my buddies, like one of my best friends, I'll meet him in Daytona. Just retired from General Motors. I'm a fantastic engineer. Had worked different divisions of General Motors, but he was in Cadillac racing towards the end, and he grew up down the street from me, and he went to college and I went to the street, but we got back together. We're still great friends. he would write. We would read car magazines, and he wrote Jim Hall in Midland, Texas. We didn't know where that was, and who had the Chaparral Can-Am cars, and Mr. Hall would write them back, and we'd read these letters, and it was just exciting shit. But we would race bicycles since we were like I told you, we rode bikes, and we would run, and it wasn't competitive. It's just how fast could we go through trails along the lake and through the bushes and jumping stuff. You know, like the things that kids do today still, you know. But that's what we did.
Yeah, I wanted to do it virtual now, right? On video
but
games.
I mean, we were good. We could
yeah.
ride bicycles, good. You know, like the other kids in town were like, "What are these guys doing?" You know, because we really mastered, you know, bicycle riding.
Was that something that completely consumed your time as well? Like you would work, you would do the things, but I was climbing trees. That's my thing. 4 hours a day. Every day.
We'd go like Lake Michigan. We'd have icebergs. Well, don't go near that. Well, we'd go out on the icebergs, and we had forts up in the, you know, did all that stuff. Then in sports, I played. My dad was he went to Notre Dame on a football scholarship. You know, and I was in the Packers, and so I played football day and night. You know, my cousins, my buddies, we'd play football in the basement. We'd play football. You know, we just rough and tumble all the time. You know, so a lot of that kind of stuff. Like I said, I don't really remember going to school very much. But at playground, we played tackle at recess. We'd put one guy in the middle with a ball, and he'd peg it at everybody on this side, and whoever he hit would get in the middle. Now that guy would tackle. So, you know, you would end up like 30 people in the middle, and one guy left. You know, and that was tough stuff, man. I lost a couple of teeth.
That's what we need now, right?
Yeah.
In this world, everything is so sissy-petty. You got everybody go. Oh, you got to be careful. Everybody wins a prize.
Yeah. No,
this is you have to work for it. You have to really do it. Yeah.
And I love rock and roll. When that happened, I mean, I still listen to rock and roll. You know, constantly. You know,
Led Zeppelin, everybody there at the time.
The louder, the better.
Yep.
In fact, Led Zeppelin, I worked for this one of the car dealers I worked for one summer was a guy from the big city of Milwaukee, you know, and he had bought the Chrysler Plymouth dealership in my town, and everybody thought he was like a crook or something, you know. Anyway, so the first day I was a lot boy, and the guy says, "Okay, see all those Mopars? You know what a 318 is?" I go, "Yeah, I do." He goes, "All right. Go out, find everything that has a 318, start it up. See over here, there's 2 cases of STP motor glue, and anyone that's ticking, put a can of that in, and if it's still ticking, put another one in there, you know, stuff like that." And then, I don't know, one day he got, "Hey, do you know how to drive a motorhome?" And I go, "Yeah." All right. Yeah. No, I did. He goes, "Okay, I'm sponsoring a rock festival in Milwaukee at the State Fair Park. And I have a Dodge Travco sitting down, and nobody knows how to drive it, nobody knows nothing." I go, "I'll do it. What do I do? Just, you know, take this car, go over here, get the motorhome, go to the State Fair Park. And he goes, over there, there'll be a station wagon, Town and Country. The keys are in it. And then look for this guy, some guy. And then I want you to go to the airport and pick up people that he tells you to pick up." And
that's
smooth.
It's a little shadier.
No, they were picking up the acts, like the band that are going to play at this rock concert.
Oh my God.
Well, it was like, I never heard of Buffy St. Marie, but she was the first one. She was some folk singer or something. But I picked up Ginger Baker and like Led Zeppelin. And then in the meantime, I'm hanging out. Led Zeppelin played, Blind Faith. I don't know, you know, it was crazy. And I was hanging out with all these guys. Anybody want to go anywhere?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really
And
cool.
I had the motorhome. You know, I was in charge of this motorhome where they were all partying and shit, you know. So I got, you know, a little education, you know.
You've been all over the place. So, but how did you get then involved with Harley? I mean, the 1984, right? The Cannonball Run, which we saw the movie in Holland with Burt Reynolds and all that
Well,
stuff. And we always thought that was just a movie, but then I found out it's a real deal thing that they have over here. You
Yeah.
started. How did you get involved with Harley? How did that connection come together?
Well, one of my older sisters, God bless her, she had a master's in business, worked for Braniff Airline until they went out of business, all this stuff. And she would just go, man, you can't live like this. You need to have a real deal, you know. And at the time, I was the manager of an AMC Jeep dealership in Manitowoc, Wisconsin. I had my panhead, you know, and I really didn't know where Harleys were made. I never asked the question, you know. I think, and she goes, like, what? Think of a big company, and I don't know.
Harley.
Yeah, and I looked on the label. I went, where are these things made? You know, and it's on the frame. And she goes, okay, so, you know, what do we do? And she goes, well, I'll write a letter to their, you know, whatever whatever it's called, public relations.
Yeah.
You know, whatever, and see what happens. So she wrote a letter. I mailed it in. They sent me back a thing. Okay, we need a resume. I go, okay. So, you know, Piggly Wiggly, McDonald's. Yeah. I just wrote exactly all this stuff, you know, scuba dive, you know, all this, you know, sold cars, parts department, this, that, you know. And sure shit, I get a phone call. I'm sitting up and it's snowing out, you know, and looking at all snowed up cars, and phone rings, and this guy from Harley, he goes, man, can you make it down here like tomorrow or the next day? I'm like, yeah, where? You know, what do you, huh?
Yeah.
Who is this? You know? And so I put on a clean shirt and drove down, and I'd never really been in an office or any, you know, like, it's Harley Davidson, man. It's the big, it's the original giant building. You go in and you got to check in with you know, a chick at the check-in deal and this and that, and you know, how are you? So I said, you know, I really didn't need a job. I thought it was, so I wasn't under any, you know,
Stress, nothing. It was just
you know, and this guy had been hired. At the time, it was owned by AMF, that owned like Head Skis, Voigt, you know, all kinds of stuff. You know, Brunswick. It was a multi. You know, they had bought up all these companies, and then there was AMF, the head company, or whatever. So this guy had been brought in from Connecticut, where AMF's deal was, to Milwaukee, to hire people to get shit going, you know, and he explained, you know, I'm listening to him, you know, I pretty much thought I interviewed him, so it sounded it to him. And I see he's got a bunch of car magazines and stuff, so we started talking about cars. I know about cars.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. And he had, what did he tell me? He had some weird foreign car. It wasn't a Triumph, it was just something weird. And an Alfa Romeo.
Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, and nobody had Alfa Romeos in Wisconsin.
Yeah, they rushed up the thing because they just did a good
know,
weather over there.
And he goes, yeah, and I can't, there's nobody in the city of Milwaukee that will touch this thing. And I go, I know a guy in Port Washington. It's like 8 miles north, named Frenchie, right? And he does foreign, you know, Alphas, I know, you know. Well, anyway, that was pretty much the thing. You know, well, we need a sales rep. And I go, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good, you know. And well, we'll get back to you. A couple of days later, I had just bought a house. I just got married. I've never heard anything that's good. And it was standard operating thing for. They bought my house. They packed it. They packed up my toothbrush. There was ashtrays that had cigarette butts in it. When we unloaded, they packed the whole house. They bought my cigarette butts. They packed everything. You know, like one sock was in a container. You know? And I moved to Milwaukee and got this job in the sales department. And you know, it was like, there was Bernice and this girl and they had mail guys with carts and bags and the mail rooms up on the 4th floor. we have these screens, and the guy that hired me, not the guy from the hiring department, my new boss he's barefoot.
Hippie.
and he was cool as shit, they had this system, like I did, to this day, I'm not a systems guy. They'd have a party every year for all the dealers, in like Las Vegas or wherever. And these guys would take orders for bikes for the next year on paper. So there's stacks of papers of drunken party and Harley dealers. And this is that's what they have to. And then the factory's in York, Pennsylvania, and we're supposed to figure out who wants what versus what they're making, and then this is the end of Harley Davidson. This is still AMF.
Wow.
So, long story short, my job was somehow and they gave me a fourth of the country, from Florida to Missouri to all these guys. So I just started calling guys. What do you got? What do you need? I'm your new guy. Da, da, da. Well, yeah, fuck you, or oh, dude, I haven't seen a motorcycle in 6 months. What are you doing up there? All right, let's get. So I just started going through this. Well, if I actually had a match, then I'd have to mail the company mail, put this order in a red bag, and then a guy from the mailroom with a cart would put it in his thing, go up to the 4th floor, and they would go wherever it went, then come back down and go down. The finance department was 400 yards the other way, on the same floor I'm on, but it had to go up there first. Then he'd put it on a finance guy's desk, who was supposed to then look at this guy, his situation with Harley, his account, if he owed Harley money, if he was good to go, or whatever, he used gold to pay for him, whatever it was. Yeah. And then go to lunch, and then put it back, if it was good or bad, put it back in that thing, up there, down here, over there. Jeez. And then we had a telex to tell the factory in York, Pennsylvania, that red FLH, ship it to, South Florida to this guy, Okay. Well, by then that thing wasn't even there. And this whole process. So I went, this is nuts. Yeah. So at lunch, there was Franz Frankfurt and all these guys in finance. I'd just go down there and play sheephead with them, the card game. Yeah. And then, and then the head of that deal started going, what are you doing down here? I go, I got nothing to do until he approves this order for that bike. I know it's right there right now, but I can't wait 2 days. So I figure, why go back there and go through this again when I can just sit here and get this done? Yeah. And they go, oh, you can't do that. I go, I'm going to do it. Otherwise I quit. This is stupid. I'm not, and that, well, just don't bother everybody. All right. So pretty soon, I circumvented that part, and I go to my boss. I go, hey, can I see the factory in New York? And I heard other people get to go out and tour. Yeah, that's a great idea. So I met the guy at the shipping end at the other side, and he had a phone on his wall, and he was the guy that knew that bike's in a crate and can be shipped, because they had a lot of bikes laying around that couldn't ship because they're missing a mirror or a carburetor or whatever. So there's a sea of unfinished bikes. But every day, this guy could tell me what's in a box that can be shipped. So now I circumvented the telex, and I called Curly, what do you got? Yeah. And then, all right, so 6 months after that, I got the sales guys that are on the road going, dude, how are you doing this? Yeah. I was reconsigning bikes. I called a dealership one time that rejected a shipment in Kentucky or something. And I called the dealer. I go, where's that? The trucker keeps going back to York. Which direction? Right? And I call the guy up the road. I go, you got a trucker with a CB? Get on the horn and track this guy down. And 15, 20 minutes later, the truck driver, I'm supposed to talk to some guy named Hal. This is, I got 4 Harley's in the truck, and I'm supposed to take him back to York. I go, no, take him, hang a left, go over to Lewistown or wherever, and drop him off over there. Really? Yeah. I'm not supposed to tell him I said so.
Yeah.
I got no authority to do that, but
it worked.
it worked.
Yeah.
And that's
And they loved it.
yeah, but nobody knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
So and then there's after about 7 months, I get this. Oh man, Mr. John Davidson and this other dude want to see you in their office. Well, nobody would go, to that deal. And like everybody, I felt like the mouse on like Sylvester, going in with a bag over his head. And I went in his office, and it's leather and beautiful office. And I sit down and they go, we want to know what you're doing. And I'm like, about what? Nobody in the country can get a motorcycle. You shipped everything we've made for the last. I'm like, well, I just have my own little system,
Yeah.
Well, we need to know what that is.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to hang me. No, you're going to be a district manager now and move to Pennsylvania and take over New York and all the shit. So that.
Wow.
So the guy, you were supposed to have like a degree in something, to be even in that office. And again, I'd say that for anybody that's listening, if you just,
love what you love to do.
Just be honest about it and
That's
humble
it.
and what
Yep.
I don't know, but it worked. And here I am talking to you, so I don't know.
Yeah.
What else I could say.
Well,
it doesn't make sense, but it does.
no, but it is. And they recognize it. Thankfully, they recognize
But
it.
my notes that I wrote this morning, I wanted to thank God for all this, and family, and friends, and customers, and Harley Davidson. But it sounds like I'm like this miracle worker, and I'm not. It's all these people that I've known, and like I tricked them into helping me or whatever.
Yeah, no, but good people. You're just good people.
Yeah.
And once you connect with people, they do things for you.
Yeah,
And you do it for them, and they do it for you, and this is how it
just
goes.
instigated stuff that looked like trouble to them, and go, no, we can do it. We can pull it off, man.
It's all about connections. Like when I came here in '96, right, to check it out. It was '95 to check out America in Los Angeles, at the police department. I was teaching with a bunch of other guys, and there was a lot of, like Gene LaBelle and all these great fighters, Benedict Jet, and there was a lot of guys teaching there. And I remember there was a guy going around. Well, I won't say it like that. I'm going to continue the story, but first. So I went to that place, and I got a care package from somebody. I remember that. And then many years later, and I'm talking about 15, 16, 17 years later, I got this guy, Curtis & Co., these big watches that they have. And their watches, they start at $4,500, go up to $13,000, like big watches. So the guy gives me one. I go, oh, that's nice, And then my dad came to visit, and my mom, and he said, oh, he wants to invite you to his home. And I go to his home, okay, and I'll go to the guy's home. And he says, oh, you like this watch? Yeah, here, take this watch. Okay. So I go, whoa, what's that? This watch, this watch. And my dad gets a watch. I go, whoa, what's going on here? Why are you giving me all this? He says, you don't remember me, right? I go, what? He says, in '95, you were teaching at the police academy, and I made these care packages for all the people, and you were the only one who wrote me an email to thank you for the care package. You see, and that's just being a good guy.
Yeah.
But that's the reason, and that's the same thing I'm feeling here. You're just a good person. People love you. They know you would do the same thing for them, and then boom, suddenly here you are.
It's an old do unto others as they would, whatever they do
Yeah.
yourself or whatever.
Yeah, that's it. Commandment number 2, right? That's the biggest one, they say. What's the first and the second? So, okay. So now let's jump fast forward, because with Harley, in the beginning, it was a little hard, right, here to get in, but then the Cannonball Run came. I want to hear that story, because you took one off the production line, and you said, I'm going to jump on a motorcycle, and said, everybody's on the freaking cars.
Okay, so now I got sent to the East Coast, right? I'm a district sales manager, and you work out of your home, and I was lucky to get this little lot, and we built this A-frame on a trout stream, and I built a dirt track for my boys to ride mini bikes in the woods and stuff, and it was cool shit. And I'd get up in the morning, and I could go east, west, north, south. If I went east, I could go all the way to the end of Long Island to East Moriches, to Stanley's Harley out there. Like Stanley he had a light bulb, and the Harley signs, like those, those big signs, were still in the box. He had a sign on the door, "Gone shark fishing." And I had driven all the way to meet this guy. I mean, it's rep, I love this dude. So I go to a bar down the street. Oh, yeah, Stan, he'll be back. Anyway, so that was my territory, from way out there, and then North Jersey and Eastern PA and stuff. And I just, and again, there weren't cell phones, and nobody's telling me what to do or where to go or whatever. I just had, like, this is messed up or that's not messed up, and we need to do this and that. And that was about it. Get it done.
Yeah.
And so I just, I don't know, kid from Sheboygan, I get a company car, and I just start going to Harley shops, meeting the people, and like looking around, and, hey, how can they help you? What can we do? Like maybe you might want to sweep this up and take the dust off this over here, and just simple, nothing. I'm not from the government to fire you or something. Just let's get this going, and just did that. And a lot of guys go, I hate this shit, and I go, no problem. I'll find a guy to buy it. So I did that 17 times.
Jeez.
Put in 17 new Harley dealers in 9 years. But so I'm in New York City, and the president at the time of Harley, his friend from South Africa, was the dealer for New York City in Queens, and they were having troubles, and I knew what the problem was, but I was, anyway, it was a family problem, and anyway, on the way, I had to take him back to LaGuardia, and I'd like reading Car and Driver, and Brock Yates, and like forever, and he had a kind of he called guys that were in tune to him sons of danger, and I thought I was a son of danger. I've never met the guy, but and then he had written he wants to do this one lap of America, and if you want to be a participant, call this number. So I got home and I called that number.
That was it.
No, but this is before the president. I got ahead of myself. So I go, I want to enter Harley. Is this even possible? And he goes, what? Yeah, no, it's got a new Evolution motor. I don't want anything. I just want to do it, and I know it's a car thing and all that. And he goes, let me get back to you. And he got back to me. He goes, yeah, but you can't win any of the prizes. I go, perfect. I don't care. Yeah. That's great. Let me try to sell this to Harley Davidson. So then I get in the car to take this guy back to the airport about a week later, and I have the president of the Harley in the car. And he's just gone through all this bullshit with these other guys. And I go, hey, I got this idea, there's this, and I explained the car. And
I got already done.
I don't even know if he knows if he's even listening to me or whatever. But I go, I got it all figured out. I know how to do it. I know what we need. I know how, and it'll be cool as shit. And we need to, get this new motor on the street, not just in magazines and guys riding around in parking lots. I mean, a real deal. And this is going to be about 9,000 miles. And he's like, do you think it'll make it better? I'm selling them. You're selling them. It's better around. So anyway, he goes back to Milwaukee. The next Monday, that was probably Thursday, Monday, this gal that was the head of marketing calls me, and she didn't like me from previous encounters. It's like, that's a whole other thing. But, the direct mail stuff. Sending shit to Marge. Anyway, so she goes, I don't know what you told Chuck, Mr. His name. But he says, you know how to do this, and I'm supposed to help you out, and what do you need? I go, nothing, money. I got a van, my own personal, I had a Chevy Bowville for my family van. I'm going to charge you for gas and shit for that, and I need a new FXRT and a couple of guys, and you can pick the guys, and they, all right. So she picks this guy, Jerry Nackard. He was the head of the AFL-CIO in the engine plant in Milwaukee. Another dude named Eddie Michaels, who was a maniac test engineer that I knew and I had partied with before. And then another guy from Jones, what's his first name? Rick Jones from Talladega Test Track.
Okay.
And I go, and like, let's do it, you know. And they flew into Allentown, Pennsylvania. In the meantime, I rigged up my van. I went to the York factory, and there was a guy named Rathhold that was in charge of quality control on all the bikes, and he could stop the factory. He could just shut it down. You know, he had that
Big
kind
power.
of deal.
Yep.
And he tells me, I got one right over here. It's been on the test track with Joe and this guy and that guy. This thing is meant. I go, nope, I want that one coming off the fucking thing right there.
Yep.
Because I don't want when it's you guys
Already
did.
worked on.
I got to sell them, and I got to know
Can you do it? Can you
the
do it?
shit that you're sending to my dealers is going to be tip top.
Yeah.
And he went, dude, I don't know. I go, you better know, because we're going to find out.
Yeah.
I ain't taking that thing, you know. And, all right. So they loaded my van with like a wheel with a sprocket on it and some other stuff. You know, I don't know, just like things that could go wrong. Tires mounted on a wheel, so we didn't have to change a flat. We just kicked the thing in the curb, you know. And then he gave me all this stuff to do, and I don't know. So anyway, so I get it, and those guys flew in, hop in the van. We ride the bike to my buddy in New Jersey, Charlie's Harley.
Charlie's Harley.
Dover, New Jersey. And went over it, tightened everything, you know, I made sure everything's. And then I went to, they had a party at the Tavern on the Green. We rolled in this Harley, and it freaked everybody, you know, all these cars and shit. What? Ah.
yeah, you know what he was?
Yeah, that thing will never make it, a Harley. And then, you know, it started in Darien, Connecticut, and the setup was you weren't supposed to exceed the speed limit. And, and they were, somehow had a calculation how that would work. So the first checkpoint was Logan Airport in Boston, and you had to go to like parking lot C3 or something and get a timed stamp. And then it was Ann Arbor, Michigan, same kind of drill. SeaTac Airport, wherever that is, Seattle maybe.
Yeah.
Then they had a stop in Redondo Beach, in a party and stuff, and everybody got the thing, and then down to San Diego to the football stadium. Then the next stop was Dolphin Stadium in Miami.
Jeez.
And then back to Darien, Connecticut. Here's the thing. We had the four of us had so much fun. I figured out the rough calculations. I had a 5-gallon jerry can on the van. The van held 32 gallons of gas. The bike held 3.7, and the rotation was we'd do 2 shifts on the bike. So when the bike, we'd fill everything up and go down the road. And when the bike sputtered, we put it on reserve, then we'd look for a place, pull over, and put gas in the bike, and then the remainder in the van. Now we're for the last leg, and then we'd go about 310 miles or whatever it would do, and then pull in for a regular gas stop.
Yeah.
And haul ass.
Yeah.
So we figured out we'd be 2 hours early, 5 hours early to Ann Arbor, Michigan, and we'd pull into place, take showers, take a nap, goof around, and then we'd just rotate. You'd either drive the van, or navigate, or sleep in the back of the van, or ride the bike, and then.
Yeah.
And we could have gone forever, you know. As long as
You're having fun.
yeah, but I mean, we all got used to this rotation.
Yeah.
It's just great.
And
that was it.
And it worked perfect. It was that, but I think that put Harley really on the map then.
It got in like People magazine, a lot of stuff at the time, you know. Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, it was cool.
You bring it up.
But it was really, the motivation was, that was fun. I mean, that was absolute insanity. The other guys that do my job in these other parts of the country, how in the, you know, you got like a week and a half off, you paid off your van because I charged them 21 cents a mile.
Still remembers.
you know, and
Yeah, but it was a sublime idea. I mean, I'm happy the guy listened to you when you.
Yeah, it was just luck. You
Yeah,
know, it was. You know, that's what I'm saying. I don't know how.
Well, he was a smart guy to listen.
Yeah, it's just how do I just don't know how it happens. It just
Yeah.
happens. You know,
Well,
like-
probably deep down inside, you just wanted to do the race.
I did.
Right? You know,
No.
didn't care about whatever
No,
motorcycle.
exactly. It isn't the best way to screw off in the world.
And then Harley said, okay, I'll do it on
Hey, you get to
Harley.
ride this awesome bike. There was, and then some of these, I knew these stunt guys from, the movie stunt guys
Yeah.
from New Jersey. And they were in on this thing. And we were like out in South Dakota or whatever, you know, so, and these planes, they had a Dodge, like a Ram Charger or whatever, like it's kind of like a Suburban deal.
Yeah.
And they pulled up, we'd seen them and we backed up a little, and they were riding on the roof and shit, and one guy jumped off the thing onto the van, you know. And we're all just going down the road, you know. It was just a lot of fun.
So, and that's where you made the switch also. Now, then Harley came, now you got your company. How did that start right after that then?
Well, that was 1984.
Yeah.
All right, so I was doing a good job for them. And,
Yeah, so they loved it.
Yeah, and then it was like at about the ninth year of that, it was like, oh, computers are coming out,
Yeah, yeah.
and these guys are going to figure out what I do, you know, and nothing bad. It's
Yeah.
just it's not going to be bureaucratically sound. I don't know. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And my next job would be in the office babysitting guys like me or guys doing the job that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I can't do this. I couldn't do that. I've been. It's like a dog that's been outside all his life.
Yeah.
You can't bring him in the house.
No, it's not gonna. Yeah.
So in '88, I went, man, I got to get my own deal. I know how to do this. I put 17 of them up in the air. You
Yeah.
know, like whatever. You know, I'm not the greatest at it, but and Texas was broke beyond belief back in that, from savings and loan scams and stuff. And this town had 2 broke dealers that owed Harley money, and I didn't have any money, so that's the right price, you know. And I borrowed a little money, and I bought a '86 Ram 318 2-barrel pickup truck that I had helped crash with my buddy and the dealer in Staten Island, Mikey Lombardi. I love the guy. We in a snowstorm spun her out and hit a pole with it, so I got a better deal on the truck that I eventually bought from him. Anyway, so I came down there, and my sister came along, and I left my family up in Pennsylvania until I got this figured out, and the guy had, like, it was in 1988, so he had 84s, 85s, and 86s, and no new 87s or 88s. That was his inventory.
Wow.
And I sold them all in 5 days. And he
Oh,
couldn't
wow.
sell them in all those years. You know?
Wow.
Yeah. And boom, boom, let's go.
And then it started.
Yeah. And I went to every bar and stuff and parties and shit. And I just went and said, hey, I'm the Harley dealer.
You want to get a Harley?
Let's go.
You just go to parties, regular parties everywhere. and you
I went to where you weren't supposed to go. And, you know, they go,
just put the work in.
yeah.
That's what you did.
Yeah.
Door-to-door salesman.
Met the,
But then bar to bar.
I had to meet the head bad guy, you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I went
but
to his birthday party and brought him a pocket knife.
Yeah.
And had to go through a gauntlet of, you know, the guards and stuff. Hey, I'm going to see this guy.
Yeah.
You know, I'm coming in.
Yeah.
And they shoved me around a little, and I got in this weird, like, kitchen, and the guys were, like, surrounding me and stuff. And the guy goes, what? And I knew his name. He goes, holy shit, what are you doing here? Are you crazy?
Yeah.
I brought you a birthday present.
And that was it.
Yeah. I haven't had trouble with any of that.
How is that, by the way? You know, if you look, because we all know.
He's a great guy. I mean,
No, but I mean, but also let's talk about Hell's Angels, the Pagans, like all these. They're all Harley guys, right? So you know all these guys. They're
course.
everywhere. So
yeah.
yeah, but it's like a friend of mine and also a Hell's Angel from Holland, and people always, like, in Holland actually they're very popular. You know, they helped the government a few times, you know, when people were squatting houses, and they said, we'll take care of it, you know. And You know, so they're really great guys if you talk to them, but people have such a weird, you know how it goes with people, you know.
Sure. Well, the only, like the few times, like, the rule was, this is Switzerland. Because I had a lot of police riding Harleys too.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and they're in the same building at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yep.
everybody, this is Switzerland. You got a problem or whatever, take down the street, but not here.
Yep.
And they respected that. And my other thing was people go, I go, well, if they're doing something illegal, it's not my job to arrest them.
Yeah.
You know, and as far as I know, they're not doing anything but riding our motorcycles, and that's what I do.
Yep.
And, you know, hey, take it easy, you know.
Yeah, I was just telling Scott, you know Scott as well, I was a bouncer in Belgium. I was making killing money there because in Holland it's different. You don't get paid as a bouncer. You don't get paid? No, you get tips. The people
yeah.
tips, but it's a lot. Like people go and give you $20, you just get 20. And the cool guys give you $100. I mean, you go $1,500, $2,000. You go like an evening. I go, this is really good money.
Yeah.
So, but then one day there was a real strong dress code. Like you had sneakers on, you couldn't get in. If there was a certain pants, you couldn't get in. And so I have to stop like 70% of the people. And the Hells Angels came. And I remember like 7 or 8 guys on the motorcycles. And I right away, I figured out who the boss was. And I walk over to him and I said, guys, you don't even have to step up. I said, listen, there's no way I can stop you. You know, I'm going to lose this battle. I understand that. But hear my plea. I say,
Yeah.
you can't come in because of the dress code. If I let you in, you know, first of all, I'm going to have to try to stop you, which I'm not going to win. So you win. I said, second of all, I'm going to lose my job because I can't allow you in. And then the main guy looks at me and goes, it's a good explanation. Don't worry about it. Come on, guys, we go somewhere else. And I go, oh, man, so happy I was.
But that's human to human.
Yeah?
You know, and that's like, you know, you look past whatever the predetermined,
Yep.
you know, whatever people put on people, and they're just guys, you know. Like,
That's it, 100%.
yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, so you're already talking about your grandchild, and it's next month, right? I mean, on your birthday, actually,
Yeah.
that's well, it's this month, January 30th.
Right.
Oh, look at now, I said it. But he's racing.
Yes, sir.
And I can only imagine he started really early as well there with the go-karts and everything.
Yeah, he's very special. He, of course, grew up with us, and his
Yeah.
father runs this place, and his uncles and my nephews. There's parts of this that you missed because we've always raced something. But so Harry, he's my first grandson. I have 7 grandkids. Was the guy, and like he was fantastic. He's 6'3", and you know, like he wasn't a schoolboy either. You know, he just
Big for a race car driver,
but
right?
he was a great baseball pitcher, and he hurt his back. But he, you know, these are little items that help switch the gear. But you know, we put him in go-karts and mini bikes
Since
and
he was-
dirt, yeah. And then we had a couple, like for our own personal use for our own park lot, a couple pretty fast go-karts, like you know, slightly used pro karts.
Yeah.
And you know, he'd get in there, and we're like, holy smokes! And there's pickup trucks and trailers, you know, like we gotta. So there's a track here that in New Braunfels, Hill Country Karting Club, that IndyCar drivers have come out of. Guys like Parker Chase, Pato Award race. I can't think of all the names, but it's amazing how many people
Came
are in
through it.
pro racing that started at this club. So we joined the club, and if you're a club member, you get a code to the gate, and you can go there Tuesday afternoon at 2:00 and unload, you know, and bring little kids or whatever. And we just started doing that. And the first time there was a group there, I have a screwdriver. I don't know what I'm doing. It's raining, and there's, I don't know, 10, 15 other people there. And we have probably 6-year-old dried out slicks on this go-kart. And Harry, you know, we're like, well, nobody's doing anything. I go, well, let's go. And he's, yeah, on these, yeah, let's do it. It's going to rain sometime. You know, if we go racing, it always rains somewhere.
Yeah.
And he went about 10 feet and spun out, of course. And then he went 5 feet and spun out the other way. And he spun out again. I don't know how many times he spun out. But pretty soon, he starts lapping on this,
On these freaking tires.
on his shit in the rain.
Yeah.
And then I'm up on the fence, and then he's up, You're like, who is this guy? You know?
Grandson.
Yeah. What's he? It's the old slicks, I don't know.
Yeah.
Wow, so we started going, well, maybe we should get some new tires and like have this thing tuned up by somebody that knows better, and started going there. And the guy that's the dealer for those Intrepid carts that we ran, they're Italian made. The guy here also races, and he's a great guy. And he said, I can't keep up with this. I get these carts from the distributor in Oklahoma City, who has a major national track at his shop, and he is the guy. So we started driving up to Oklahoma City, and this guy Rodney Berryhill, extreme character. If you want to interview somebody that'll blow the batteries out of your camera, that's the guy. He's so cool. Rodney, my man, took Harry under his wing and a bunch of other guys over the years, but Harry was actually his last protege, let's say. And we'd leave Harry there. He has lights on his track. It's got about a 95 mile an hour straight into a 90 degree at the end of the front straight that's not lit. And over time, we just turn them loose, We'd wet down the track, in a corner, and you didn't know it. And he'd come sailing and put rocks in the middle of the road, and just terrorize them. But he'd run that thing so it's out of gas. And we'd turn the lights on, and he'd run all night. So he probably had 7,000 laps at Rodney's track. Dude, I'm serious. We'd put him on a plane, Rodney pick him up at the airport, go. We just wear shit out. And then started going to races, and, that picture there, that's when he was 13.
Oh, wow.
Super Nationals, I won this. We went to Daytona. I can get the trophy if you want to see it.
Oh, yeah, we'd love to see it.
Yeah.
When you have two fighters facing each other and they're equally skilled, the one with the most stamina is probably going to win the match. When you have two teams, soccer, football, it doesn't really matter, facing each other equally skilled, the team with the most stamina is probably going to win the match. Now, why would that be? It is because they can keep on pushing because they have incredible endurance. Now, let me tell you something about your lungs and how they work. Your lungs are just two bags. There's not a single muscle in your lungs. The way for your lungs to open up is by your breathing muscles. And just so that you know, you have 11 pounds of breathing muscles. Now, the muscles for inhaling are your diaphragm and your intercostal muscles, your external intercostal muscles, I should say, which are the muscles in between your ribs. They create chest expansion. And then inside your body, there's a vacuum between the body and the lungs. And that vacuum, when you open up your chest, will open up your lungs. Okay, now let's put two things together. Let's talk first about stamina. How does your stamina increase? Well, I train really hard, boss. Yeah, I understand that, but why does it increase? Well, if you train a muscle over and over again, it becomes more efficient. And the word efficient already says it. It uses less oxygen, therefore your stamina increases. Okay. So what happens when you're gassing? Metaborflex, that's a beautiful word for gassing. When you're gassing, this is what happens. Imagine you're running a hill and your legs are getting tired. Your body is getting tired. Now your body starts to regulate, prioritize where the blood flow is going to go. And you would think it would go to the legs because you're running. No, it's not. It's going to go to the number one priority in your body, which are your breathing muscles, your 11 pounds of breathing muscles. Okay, so wait a minute. Why don't I work out my breathing muscles so they don't have to steal blood anymore? And by the way, that's a medical term, blood stealing. But now you asked the right question. If you work out your breathing muscles, they don't have to steal blood anymore, and therefore your stamina increases. And this is what the O2 trainer does. The O2 trainer is an inspiratory muscle training device, and that will train, it's like weight training, for your breathing muscles. So you have maximum chest expansion, and that means you can maximally fill up your lungs with air. If you're serious about stamina, I would really look into the O2 trainer. Godspeed, everybody, and breathe on.